want to talk about one other topic, and then I got a little game at the end for us to play. So,
I like games.
I did want to ask you, obviously, about you're just in the soccer world. Your podcast, you talk with all kinds of people, so like kind of like some water cooler stuff. But the and I guess we're kind of talking about the future a little
Mhm.
bit. And so like what do you make of the future that is the U.S. men's national team and the U.S. women's national team? They're both it's something that the future looks a little brighter, maybe for one, and maybe for the other as well.
Well, we definitely have a couple hours for this, don't we?
Yeah, I know, I know,
Um,
I know.
so the women's national team, they're the best in the world. Period. Yes, Spain's catching up. These other countries are pouring money and they're catching up. But guess what? They're just catching up.
That's true.
They're
That's true.
I watched this team earlier today against Colombia just a couple hours ago.
Me,
There's nobody. There's nobody in the world that's going to compete with that team. And my wife, she got back during the second half, and I put the kids to bed, and we were just chatting, and I looked at her. It was during their substitutions, and Sam Ewis came off the field, and my wife's like, "Oh, she's had a good night, 3 goals. Like she's been playing pretty well." And I go, male or female, in the year 2021, Sam Ewis will be the best player in the world. And she kind of like gave me this look. I was like, male or female, don't matter. That's going to be the best player in the world this year. And she was like, bold prediction, Cotton. And I'm like,
yeah,
well,
and that's
you
a
know,
bold one.
yeah,
She's
but
good though. She's very good.
she's incredible. Like, I mean, and I was telling my wife, I was like, the World Cup was just a coming out party for her. And, people who are in on the inside, like know how legit she
Oh, for
is.
sure.
And I think we're just barely seeing it. And I think that England is just barely seeing it too. Um, I think Vlatko was a good hire.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think Kate Markgraf as I think GM is what her title is, was another great hire as well. Um, Again, the other countries are catching up. They're not to us yet. I still think um, we actually were just having this conversation the other day of what's going to happen in the next World Cup that we don't win, because it's so hard to win back to back. It's even harder to go back to back to back. Um,
We've done it though, right?
yeah,
And so
uh,
we're one of two, right? I think did Germany do it?
we Germany did it, and then we've went back to back as
Yep.
well. And there's a lot of fear in your typical casual sports fan
Yeah.
who will watch the women's World Cup because they know we're going to win. Well, how quickly are they going to? I'm going to use a wrestling term. How quick are they going to turn on them because they don't win?
Yeah, that's
And
true.
that's kind of the fear. And looking at this team right now, I ain't worried about nothing. Like there, and the thing, like we just got Macario. She debuted tonight. Sophia Smith. We're not like, yeah, Carly Lloyd's getting older. She may not be in the next World Cup.
That's
Megan
okay.
Rapinoe's getting older. She may not be. We're still going to be fine.
Yeah, I mean
Like,
to be fair, for me, I divide a lot of opinions. Not really. This is a controversial point. I've always said this. I think Rapino is not even one of our top 10 players, but she's productive.
shut your mouth. I'm done with this interview. We're
Yeah.
done.
But like that's the thing is like but that's just, and it's not
Yeah.
because Rapino's bad. It's just we have so many good players.
Yeah.
Like I thought Rose Lavelle was the best player at the World Cup for us.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't score the
That's
most goals.
you can make that vouchment. Yeah,
You
for
know what I
sure.
mean?
For
Like
sure.
those type of players, like, and it's just what it is. And so it's like, yeah, these older players are going out, and of course Carly Lloyd, Rapino, they're historic figures in
Mm-hmm.
especially U.S. women's national team. But like the crop that's coming through, like
Yeah.
they should excite you just as much. And I kind of have been on this like we need to be careful of getting content because, like you said, they are catching up. But there are some countries that are catching up and they're doing a really good job. And
Yeah.
look, I don't think I'll say this. I don't think the U.S. women's national team is the best looking soccer team, the way they play or anything like that. But the truth is, they got the best players still.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, they can
I
win
you know I
games.
s- I'm one of those people that will say that game against France in France. I don't know if they play that game in somewhere other than France. I don't know if the U.S. wins that game
Probably not.
because France was on top of the world, but man, they could not handle the pressure
Nope.
of that game. And I think that's what helped the U.S. because they could handle the pressure and they just kind of turned all the pressure back onto France. But Like I said, I think our women's team is fine. I think the development along that system, just bringing in Laura Harvey as the U23 coach now. Laura's she's I don't refer to all these people that we've interviewed or whatever that I've gotten to know as my friends. I call them my network colleague because I'm like I don't
Yeah.
know if I'm their friend or not.
Right.
But Laura's a network colleague of mine, and I think she's one of the best coaches in the country.
Fair enough.
So I
Yeah.
think her leaving the NWSL to go for the national team to work for is fantastic, and I'm glad that we were able to get her. Um, because I think the opportunity to go back to England was there for to work with the national team, and um, so I think it's good for our 23s. I think you can tell a difference. I mean, you see the Sophie Smiths, you see the Macarios, you see the Trinity Rodmans, a lot of these girls that played on that U23 team just recently. Laura only got a little bit of time with them, but in the time that that she got with them was fantastic, and the
For
things that
sure.
they did. So I think that's something that really helps too. I think that pipeline of coaches that are working with the youth women's national teams are fantastic. But on the men's side, that's I don't know how to. So like I w- I guess I've said it on the show. I'm not a Berhalter fan.
Okay.
Um, I
I,
don't understand. So you hire a person using the quote, they play a really attractive style of soccer, but they have a sub 500 record with that attractive style of soccer.
that's true.
In the MLS, which I love American soccer, MLS is not all that. So he
It
has a
ain't
sub
it.
500 record. Yeah, so he has a sub 500 record in a league that is not that great with this whatever. So I and what drives me crazy is the fact of how well they're playing. It's because all these guys are leaving the States and going and playing in Europe, which was what I'm a Klinsman guy. I don't care what people say. I don't care what
I
people
know.
say.
I'm all on board. 100%.
His exact quote was, "If we're going to get better, our guys, just like in the club system, if a kid comes plays for you and they're killing it, and they need that extra challenge, you as a coach, you'd be like, yeah, you need to go play in Detroit
Yep.
or wherever.
100%.
Hey, leave Saginaw, go to Detroit. That
I did my
that
job.
coach, yeah, that's what it's supposed to be."
Yeah. 100%.
And he was saying the same thing. Our players need to go, like if they're killing it in the MLS, if they're killing it in college soccer, they need to go overseas and play. If they can, if our guys can play in the best leagues in the world, that's only going to make our national team better.
Totally
And I
agree.
love that. Dempsey was at Fulham, was killing it at Tottenham as well. You're seeing all these guys to where when the MLS season got over with, they go on loan. Landon Donovan was only good when he was in England. That's a whole nother story. Um, and there's all these pieces of puzzle that because of that experience in Europe was what fueled them. And then you started seeing, you know, the getting the money offers to come back to the MLS or to come back to the States. And then, for the I do think that there was, and this is totally just my opinion. I think very similar to the NWSL, where I do believe it was said, if you want to play for the national team, you have to come back and play for the NWSL
Yep.
because you saw some players leave and come back to the States. I I'm fairly certain that part of the reason of getting rid of Klinsman was to get the players in the MLS to come back.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And Bruce took over the team and was putting all these MLS rosters. Yeah, right. Put all these MLS rosters out there, and we're getting pounded.
Shocker.
And so it irritates me that this now people are kind of starting to cheer for Berhalter. And he's come out saying our players have to go play in other countries, and we want Sergio Dest to go play Barcelona. We want all these guys playing overseas, and it's like no, because 8 years ago Jurgen Klinsmann was saying that, and y'all trashed him.
Yeah. No,
And
I agree with that.
he called out Michael Bradley for taking the money and leaving Roma to come and play for Toronto FC. Like he didn't hold back. He got on to Clint Dempsey for leaving England and coming back home, like to go play for Houston or whoever it was he came back home to play for.
Seattle, right?
Seattle,
Yeah.
yeah, Seattle. Um, and him telling Jordan Morris like, "Hey, you need to leave. Like,
Yeah. What a
don't sign for a homegrown. Go play across seas." Which I saw just the other day. He signed. I think he signed it.
Swansea.
Yeah, Swansea. Um,
A
it's just
little late there,
on
buddy.
loan. Yeah, yeah. But like, and now like we're praising Greg Berhalter for what Klinsmann was trying to do.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of coaches who say like the thing that the United States needs right now is a really, really good technical director. And to be honest with you, I couldn't even tell you who the U.S. soccer technical director is. I know like
Uh.
Ernie Stewart's our GM or
Oh yeah.
whatever, or he's like he's whatever. I think Brian McBride is the GM for the men's national team.
Is it? It's
Um,
a Dutch. Is it a Dutch guy or a
is it
Belgian?
Ernie Stewart?
I thought it was Ernie Stewart. Maybe it's not Ernie Stewart. I guess I thought it was. Who
He
knows?
may be.
But maybe that's the problem. We don't even know who it
Yeah. Well,
is.
yeah, exactly. That's what I was gonna say. Like, I couldn't even tell you who the technical director is. And a guy made the comment, and it really hit home to me. He goes, "Yeah," he's like, "Yeah, the U.S. needs a really, really good technical director." He goes, "But the problem is, we just fired him because he was our national team coach." And I sat back and I thought about it. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" So a lot of these kids who are coming up right now, your Sergino Dest, your Weston McKenzie's, those are all kids who are product of Klinsman.
Yeah, of
Like, I
course.
don't care what anybody says. I don't care what
Christian,
anybody
all of
says.
them.
All those kids are products of the Klinsman era. And look at what they're doing. Mourinho during the convention last week was talking about our national team and said, like, you've got some of the best young players in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like, US may not be an underthought in the next few World Cups because this young group that we've got coming up is really, really good. And it just made me think, like, those are Klinsman's kids. Like,
Absolutely.
that is exactly what it is. And now these other guys are going to reap the benefits from it and use the same verbiage as him as, oh yeah, they need to go play over here and whatnot. And it's
Of
like,
course.
you fired a guy because he said that the kids need to do that. And now, like, oh yeah, they're doing it. But I just like before they hired Berhalter, I was not a fan of Bruce coming back.
No.
And especially I didn't like the mindset that he had going into those last couple of cup qualifying games. But like, I think that just the United States itself, I think has a draw for somebody. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I think in that situation, because I don't think Mourinho was at United at the time. I don't know if you couldn't go to Jose Mourinho and say, "Hey, what's the cost for you to come over here?" Because I think, to me, I can't say that I was a big Bradley fan. Can't
Mm-hmm.
say that I'm a Berhalter fan. I can't say that I'm an Arena fan. I really did enjoy Klinsman, and I thought that was a big hire. Like, this was like the first time U.S. soccer like brought in a big name to coach. And so as I've gotten older, my mind is going to, okay, we've got to be able to go get a big name in coaching. Do we have to? No, but like, there's got to be a Jose Mourinho. Like, there's got to be a point where we could have went to him, or someone of a, I guess I should say, stature.
Yeah.
Like, hey, look at this talent that we have coming up that
Yeah.
you could groom and you could, uh, I hated it at first at the thought of it. But somebody really kind of sold me the idea was on Arsene Wenger being
Yeah.
the national team coach because
Yeah.
he does so well with working with the youth
That's
kids.
true.
And I was like, never even thought about that. And I'm not a Wenger fan whatsoever. But like, I feel the appeal of the United States, like, especially, I guess, like an egotistical person like Mourinho. Like, what if now just think about this is
Yeah.
crazy. Imagine if Mourinho was our national team coach right
Oh.
now. And with all these like crazy talented kids that are on the team, and he goes into this next World Cup. He goes wins the thing.
Oh, he
He
would too.
wins. He wins the World Cup with the United States. What is that like?
Second greatest manager of all time.
Oh my gosh! Like, like, for me, I guess as a coach, like, if I was a top manager in the world, and the thought in my mind, like, man, what if who's going to be the person that could do that? And granted, that's a crazy task to even think about. But
Yeah.
Jurgen was this close. He was Tim Howard making 5 more saves of those 13. Close.
Yeah, and that was
He
not even
was a
close to this team.
yeah,
The
and
talent
he
level.
was also a Julian Green off the post this close
Let's
as well.
let's also just say this: he was not selecting Chris Wondolowski for that team away, because
Yeah.
Chris should have put us through. You have one job: put that ball in the
Yeah.
back of the net. It's basically a tap in. It's a head, right? I think it was the header, and he put it
Hmm.
over or whatever. It's like, come on now. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think well, I mean, like, Berhalter is doing the right things, but I think you're right. The hypocrisy is so visible.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
crazy. But like, why couldn't we get a guy like Tata? He was just in the United
Hmm.
States.
Do you know why we didn't get Tata?
Well, I mean, I could take a guess, but
Go for it. It's your show. Go for it. Take a
I
guess.
mean, my guess is that we wanted an American. Like that would be my the guess of that, or maybe I don't. Actually, I have no idea. So you go ahead because imagine I'm wrong.
He was not hired because they thought that there would be a translation problem.
Do they know the amount of Mexican Americans that live in this country?
Say, and my response to that was, did you see what his Atlanta United teams did?
Yeah, there was no communication problems there.
Like, Darlington Nagby did really well, if you ask me.
Yeah, talk about
Uh,
under like talk about just wasted talent there.
yeah, and so like, and I think that was the big gripe when because there it was they were the final two was Berhalter and Tata, um, and when that came out, to hear people say like you could have currently what some people are calling the best manager, at least in North and in the Americas.
Yeah, for
Some
sure.
people are calling him a top 5 manager in the world, and you could have him,
Yeah,
and
that
then you
could
don't,
have.
and now he's going to your rival,
That is not
and
good.
yeah, and like again, like personally, okay, yeah, Berhalter played pros, whatever, but with these kids who are playing in other countries right now, I think to have somebody with like that really big international
Yeah,
experience, I think could be massive. And I also think like again, I mean, you think about a guy like a Jose Mourinho. Think about uh, just all these big names that you know get what would it do for their career if they could win with the United States?
yeah, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they could. And I'm not even to say like the United States has the best talent in the world. It doesn't. Like there's places
No.
with more talent, of course. But the truth is, if you look at the level of coaches at the international level, it's not the highest. And we see
Hmm.
that, right? We have Greg Berhalter as our head men's
Yeah.
coach, right? It's just what it is. For the most part, like if you look at Yogi Löw,
Yep.
dude couldn't buy a job outside of the Germany national team, but
Hmm.
he's won a World Cup, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. You look all around, so it's like a guy like Jose Mourinho, who I think is kind of built for that, right? Like
Hmm.
preparing for a cup or
Yeah.
something along those lines. And the guy loves the United States. I mean,
Dude wins big games. He
yeah,
wins big
I'm
games.
gonna be honest. I still have a little bit of
You know,
vitriol towards him. A little bit. It's
I
going
I
away.
still I still think that while he was at United, I think he was still on Abramovich's payroll.
He had to
Uh,
have been.
to tear United down from the
I
inside.
literally have made. I can't tell you how many times I've made that joke. I said he's just buying. Why? What is he doing?
Yeah.
He's trying to help Chelsea. That's it.
I can tell you, man, I'm a Chelsea guy, and when he took that job, I was just like my heart sunk, and I was like, "What are you doing?" But then it was like in my mind, I was like, "Well, if he sucks, that means that he's gonna make them suck."
Yeah. Well.
And then when they start going through their trials, it's like, I think he's still on the payroll.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe he's gonna do the same. I mean, it doesn't. Maybe he'll do the same thing at Tottenham. Like you're like that one is really
Yeah,
would be great. Yeah,
yeah.
I think for me, like the U.S. men's national team, obviously there's a lot of talent. I think the coach, he's doing the right things right now. He's
Mhm.
not the long term guy. I totally agree. I don't
Yeah.
think he's good enough. But I think even if it is like this like hypocritical thing, as long as he's doing the right things, let's just let him keep doing it. Get the
Yeah.
right players in, because if it builds the profile of the players, right? Like I'm gonna be honest, keep him in the job until he gets Efra Alvarez back, and then
Mhm.
we can get rid of him. That's how I feel about it.
The well, when they were trying to figure out who the new coach was going to be, um, we did a show on like the prospects of it because we do every couple years or every couple times a year. We'll do a show called State of U.S. Soccer with a good friend of ours, John Denham, who's up in Dubuque, Iowa,
Okay.
who's big on the business side. I think like he gets all the transcripts of the U.S. soccer business meetings.
Oh wow.
Like he gets involved in stuff. Like I think he does something with like the board of directors in Iowa where he like gets in on the he watches the assembly general meetings or whatever the AGMs the U.S. soccer puts on. Like he like studies it.
Oh
So
god.
like anytime like we always talk like the state of U.S. soccer with him because he's like he's not in the know, but he reads and like studies what
Right.
they're saying. Um, and so when they were trying to figure out a new coach, we had him on and he was talking about, just kind of a lot of it was going to depend on what they were doing with this whole new general manager thing and who,
Yeah.
we were making guesses on who they're going to hire, but we kind of knew at the time who they were going to hire. And, when we talked about the men's national team coach, he's kind of said the same thing that you and I have said. He goes, there are big time coaches who are good coaches, big time coaches who are good coaches who could take this job right now and make us quote unquote a winner. He's like, but for whatever reason, it's the stigma of U.S. soccer that's going to keep those people
Yeah.
from getting here. He's like, but he's like, what's it going to cost to get those people here? He's like, are we going to have to win more? Are we going to have to actually win a World Cup? He's like, how do we get someone with World Cup winning experience, not just as a player, but as a manager? How do we get them here? And he kind of went on and on and on. So then he like asked Nick and I, he's like, who would you pick for your new men's national team coach? And I forget who Nick said and kind of went on about it. I think he said he wanted Tata or somebody else. And he's like, all right, and Shaun and you, he goes, who's available right now that you think could come in and do this? I didn't even think twice. I just said Jill Ellis. And
Oh
there was
yeah.
like
We're gonna argue
silence.
again. We're gonna argue again.
And so the big talk is that, and not with the US, but there were talks that there were some men's teams at the professional
Yep.
level that gauged her interest about
I did
coming in
hear.
and
I did
being
hear that,
the head
which is
coach.
great.
Yeah. And, I've been fortunate to be around Jill a couple of times, and to chat with her and get to know her a little bit. Um, and I think it's no different than I do believe in the next years Becky Hammond's going to be a coach
Yeah,
in the
100%.
NBA.
She will be the
And
Spurs
I
coach. 100%.
and I think that she will be very, very
Oh,
successful.
absolutely.
I do also believe that um, I've always said, kind of go back. I think in England it would be a lot harder, but Emma Hayes would be my
I
top
was. I
choice.
was gonna say Emma Hayes should be your guys. Should have got the job before Frank.
Um,
100%.
I
She's
Yeah,
unbelievable.
she's absolutely incredible. I think her and Jill would be the two current female coaches. I would say if I was an owner and I was I'm looking for the best coach that's quote unquote available. I'm not saying that they are because
Yeah.
obviously Emma's at Chelsea for a while, and I think Jill's kind of I think she's kind of getting more into the coaching education thing at this
Yep.
moment in
For sure.
time. But I still think she's going to coach again at some point. But um, you know, I don't think I would have. I don't think I could have went through a hiring process without talking to both of them. Like if I owned a team or if I was a national team uh, general manager or whatever
Right.
the
Right.
thing
For
is.
sure.
But I really felt because of no one in the US has had the success at the international level that the women's program has had. And we're not going to be able to, God love him and God rest his soul, Tony DeChico. He would have been I would have said Tony because of the experience that he has with the international game and the success that he's had.
Yeah.
Um, but if you look at, the women's side of the game and you just look at the things that Jill Ellis's national teams did. Now, granted, this last World Cup, I wouldn't say she had the full team on board,
No.
because there was definitely some disruption. But guess what that team still did?
It won.
They still went out
Yeah.
and, yeah, I hate saying this, but like they beat the shit out of people.
Everybody. That
And
Thailand game got uncomfortable.
and think about this. They did that with like rumblings in the locker rooms.
Yeah.
But she was able to say, I remember listening to her speak a while back saying, they had a conversation and was like, look, I know there, this isn't verbatim, but kind of the Spark Notes version is like, look, like, you know, we're all not going to get along, but we're all here for the same reason. We're here to compete in this. We're here to try to be the best. And to look at what that team did and to get players to begrudgingly accept their roles. And
Yeah.
a lot of that is players who are aging and
Yeah.
still thinking that it's 4 8 years ago, and it's not, who didn't like their quote unquote spot being taken away. So I'm not gonna put that on Jill.
No, for sure.
Um,
Ego's
but
involved.
yeah, and so I just look at what she's able to do. She's currently the only female with a U.S. Soccer pro license. Now that's going to change here pretty soon.
Yeah.
Laura Harvey is finishing up, so she'll be the second one. Um, I would also low key look at Tracy Ham, who's at I believe it's Cal State. Um, she is the only female in the U.S. with a UEFA Pro license.
Oh wow.
Um, you know, and this isn't just me like being like revolutionary or anything like that.
Yeah.
But thinking of like if we're wanting American coaches, um, who are the best, or and who can really bring out the most. I don't know how you can have a conversation about hiring, a new coach for the men's national team and not bring up Jill Ellis's name. I don't. I can understand why people wouldn't bring her name up. I totally get it. Besides the obvious,
Yeah.
you know, but it's going to happen at some point, whether it's
Yeah.
in the U.S. or it happens in another country. It's going to happen at some point. And like I said, like when Becky Hammond goes and coaches the Spurs, like you made a great prediction. She'll coach the Spurs. I'm a Pacers guy. I wanted them to hire Becky Hammond.
Oh, it'd be a great hire.
Like
Whoever
I
hires
wanted
her
her.
gets a star. Gets a
I
star.
wa- I wanted her to be the head coach here, but it wasn't the case. But um, I don't know, because I think it's going to take Becky, because there's a lot of people who Becky Hammond will say like, oh yeah, she's a great coach, or they'll just say, yeah, Becky's a good coach. They're not going to say like, she's a great coach. Pop doesn't really use she a lot. He's like,
No.
oh, like, Coach Hammond or Becky, blah blah blah. Um, and I think she's going to win when she gets the opportunity. I think she's going to win when she gets the opportunity, and then that conversation is not going to be had anymore, because then it's just going to be like, well, who's next?
Yeah.
Who's going to be the next one in? I'm fearful. So everybody knows I'm a big Duke fan. I'm fearful that Kara Lawson is she's going to be at Duke until an NBA team calls, because she was with the Celtics coaching them when she took the Duke job, and the Celtics were super upset, like sad that she left. They weren't mad at her, but they were really upset that she left. And so there's only a time. I mean, honest, like through soccer chat, I've learned of so many females
Oh,
that
so
are
many.
coaching high school boys soccer,
Yeah.
or coaching U18 boys club teams.
Yep.
And they're kicking tail at it
Yep.
too.
They're great.
And so, again, like I said, I know the obvious reason why people wouldn't want Jill Ellis to take the job over Greg Berhalter, but I don't know how you couldn't even, like, I don't know how that conversation in that meeting room that we all wish we could be in Kansas City in U.S. soccer.
Right.
I don't know how everyone can be at that table and no one even say that, I guess. So even if they don't even, if somebody says it like, yeah, this just isn't the time, I can handle that. But the fact they're like, okay, we don't have a coach. Who's the best coaches that's available? Okay, Tata, Berhalter, whoever. I think at one point Sam Allardyce's name was mentioned.
Jesus Christ.
Which I know there was a point where the rumor was that he actually interviewed.
I
but
bet he
know that he
did.
was a
That guy
name.
takes any job he can get.
And I just don't know how, like, this list of like 10 names, I don't know how that room could come up with that list without even mentioning her name again. So like I said, if they mention her name and as a group they're kind of like, like not ready for that, I can handle that.
Yeah, for sure.
I can handle that. But to have that conversation and not say, hey, what about Jill? She's available. She's had success. And a lot of our success from the U.S. soccer has come from the work that she's done.
Yeah.
Because who else has won back-to-back World Cups as a coach?
Yeah, there's not many.
I believe she's the only one, male and female.
Well, was Germany coach the same coach? I don't know.
I don't think so.
It might not have been. To be fair, it was.
I think I forget who it was before Lowe, but I don't think it was the same guy, because
No. I'm on the women's side. I'm sorry.
yeah. Sorry. I don't think it was the same one, because I'm fairly certain at a speaking engagement of hers I was in, I believe that, like, I remember the MC like saying like the only person to win back-to-back World Cups as a coach, it hadn't been done. And I
I
may be wrong with that, but
I don't think either of us know enough about German national women's
yeah,
national team. So, and yeah,
facts.
I think look, I think Jill has done a great job with the U.S. men or U.S. women's national team. I don't necessarily view her as an elite coach. Because I view it's the same way I view a lot of the international coaches. I think that
Mhm.
they're good. They're good enough for that. Um, the only reason, and I think and I get the older players having an issue and it being an ego thing, and I think there's a lot of that.
Mhm.
But I think you hear from different people that they just didn't believe in her, and like these are top players and stuff like that, and like they didn't think that she was the best of the best. And so that's my only thing. Like, and if that's the reason why the U.S. Federation says no, not her, fine. But I do agree, her accolades deserves to give her a seat at the table, at least.
So, so my response to those players who said she's not the best of the best. So in female coaching right now, who is available, who would be the best to come in?
Emma Hayes, but not available. So there you go.
And she wouldn't even take the England job.
No, she won't. I mean, yeah, I actually had a guy. I was talking to a gentleman. His name's Carl Davey. He's from England. He's the
Mm.
U21 coach at Charlton for the women's side. We were talking about Emma and like what would you think about her taking the women or the men's, because the women's job is open, but I was like, and obviously
Mm.
they all have their feelings about Southgate, and he's like, yeah, he's like, I think she's the best, and he's like, but she'll never leave Chelsea, because Chelsea actually, after she had her kids, they built like a daycare and like different
Yeah.
things for her, so it's like, yeah, she's a lifer, which is so heartbreaking, especially
And
after.
and and don't get me wrong. I mean, Vlatko's good. Don't get me wrong.
No, yeah, for sure.
But at the time, I don't know. Like before Jill left, I don't know if there was a women's coach out there other than Emma. I don't know if there's a women's coach out there that I would put above Jill. So like, so if you're going to say like we think that there are people better than her, I would like to know what those players who
and
they
that's
thought.
and that's fair. And I think that's the thing, right? Like and I think, and I don't want to say like women or men coach, but like coaches that coach on the women's side, because the truth
Mhm.
is you're not going to get a Jose Mourinho, just an
Yeah.
example, to go over to the women's side, because it is a different
Yeah.
game. And
Mhm.
so granted, I maybe Jill is, you know, I'm going to put her behind some of these other coaches that I know that are in the women's game, just from, and that's probably just preference, and that
Yeah.
is what it is. But maybe she is top in the women's game, and that's probably fair. That would be my only, I guess. Like there may be more top level. I mean, there's more top level men's coaches like that coach on the men's side than there are women's,
Mhm.
because there's less opportunities on the women's side.
Yeah.
Like that's statistics.
That's a conversation where I'd love being a fly on the wall
Yeah.
that could speak, because I would have been like so have you seen the clip of, it was from like, I think it was last basketball season, some kid from Georgetown shot a fadeaway that missed horribly, and Patrick Ewing called a timeout, and he's grilling the kid the entire timeout, and he was like, that was your shot, that was your shot, and the kid was like, yeah. He goes, you ever practice that fadeaway shot? And the kid was like, yeah. It's before he could even finish the H and yeah, Patrick Ewing was like, when you practice that shot. And he caught the kid off guard. And so for me, like, if I'm a fly on the wall, and to hear like the players who voiced and said, we don't feel like she's the best of the
Yeah,
best,
for sure.
I, before they could even finish the EST in the second best, I've been like, who right now will leave wherever they're at that you say is better than her?
That's true.
Who is that? I want to know who that person is, because you talk to people from the international level, they're singing Jill's praises, Emma's praises, Laura Harvey's praises, and I don't know.
Casey Stoney, my girl.
Like,
She is
I
great
don't.
though.
Yeah, and I just don't know who that would have been available at that time.
I think you're right. I don't think there really is
I don't
anyone.
know who again, like, I'm not saying Vlatko's an upgrade. I think Vlatko's the same. Like, he was very successful in the NWSL. Jill was very successful at the college level, and I just think that, like, I don't know. Like I said, I don't think Vlatko's an upgrade. I think
Lateral.
he's the same. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lateral
And
move,
that's fair.
and yeah. So I don't know, like, and
But
I think in the U.S. women's side though, I think there's only been one hire coaching wise that wasn't a lateral move. Like I've met the guy, I've gotten to know him a little bit. He's super cool. Tom Sermani is a super, super nice guy.
Yeah.
He was not ready for that job.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like doing it in Australia was a whole nother ball game. But like the U.S. women's national team is a whole nother
It's cream of the
level.
crop,
And
right?
yeah, and so I felt like I I'm a massive Pia Suhaji fan. Like I don't care what people say.
No,
I'm a
that's fine.
massive fan.
I think I
Um,
like Pia more than I like Jill. That's my preference.
hey, and that's fine. I would have to say I'm either like level,
Yeah, for sure.
like and like I used to like Pia a lot more, but as I've gotten to know Jill, like she's kind of like
Yeah,
going up a little
hey,
bit.
winning cures everything, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, and and when Jill Ellis tells people that I'm her bestie, like that gets her
yeah,
points, and so that climbs her.
for sure.
So, and I actually, whenever when Jill announced that she was leaving, Pia hadn't taken the Brazil job yet, and some friends of mine said like, "Hey, like who would you put in the spot?" And I was like, "Bring Pia back."
Yeah.
Like we were crazy successful with her, and I think she left at a bad time, but I get it. It's an opportunity to go back home and coach your homeland. Like
Can't
doesn't come around too often. You can't say no to that.
no.
Um, and Pia, I thought she connected with the players a lot more than Jill did. Now, I think, and Jill is just in my time, she's soft spoken. Jill is a person who, when you talk to her outside of soccer, she's one of those you're like, people need to see
Yeah,
this
for sure.
because people with Jill that talk crap about her just see her in the press conferences where she's
Yeah.
like serious and whatever, or they see her during games. You see her at convention and chat with her, it's a whole different ball game. She's a completely different person.
Yeah.
um as to where Pia, that person that you want to have a drink with, she's like that all the time.
Yeah, she's like that all the for sure.
And so like she had that really good connection with the players. So I'd say yeah, Jill leaves, I want Pia to come back. But then Pia took the Brazil job. I was like, well, that's not going to happen now.
Yeah.
But I just like, I would say, my top four coaches in the female game right now, I would say would be Emma, Jill, Laura, Harvey, and Pia. And I think the only other, I don't think it'll happen just because the guy is who he is. But I think the other person that would have to get considered for that opportunity would be Rory Dames out of Chicago.
Okay.
Unfortunately, he couldn't make any trades when he would be with the U.S. national team. But
He loves a trade, doesn't he?
hey, I like the tweet the other night from Anthony DeChico. If you're a new GM in the NWSL and your owner doesn't tell you not to trade with Chicago, you're going to get fired. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
and
That's
so,
funny. That's
yeah,
funny.
so like, but I actually, I got to go to a Red Stars training session uh, the week that the players came back from the World Cup.
Okay.
And so it was Julie's first day back, Morgan Bryan's first day back, Alyssa Nair's first day back, all these players. Um, and I got to actually see Rory at work, other than just what I see of him on TV or when I would go to the Red Stars games.
Right.
And I'm watching this guy, and I'm watching Craig Harrington, I'm watching Gary Curneen, I'm watching their goalkeeper coaches, and I'm watching the way he's working, and I'm going, hmm, this could be something. And I've got to know Rory a little bit, but we have a lot of mutual friends, so I do hear a lot of Rory stories. He's another one that I thought like, hey, like that could be a consideration. But again, like, what would he do without trades and drafting? Um, but I think there's so many names, like a lot of college names fly around
Yeah.
for the job, and I can understand where that comes from. But yeah, I just don't know. So I guess kind of going back to like the original point, I think U.S. women's national team. I think we're fine. I think we're going to be fine on the men's side too. And I really hope that we're fine because in the Brazil World Cup, I believe it was, or was it South Africa? It was South Africa, I think, because that was
14.
2014. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was getting some drinks before a game, and the store had El Matador tequila, and they
Oh.
had a World Cup bottle, they had a Mexican Federation bottle, and a U.S. Soccer Federation bottle. And I just kind of like sat there and looked at them, and I was like, "Oh, it's like kind of cool collector's items. That would be kind of cool to have."
Yeah.
And then I always thought to myself, like, and I'm not like a hard liquor guy or anything like that, but I was just like, oh, like, I've got so many friends who have these like crazy aged bourbons or something
Yeah.
where they've had it in a bottle for so long and whatever. I was like, well, this would be kind of cool. So I bought the US soccer one and said, I'm not going to open this until the men's team win the World Cup. Yeah, so nobody can see this, but the face you just made is literally what everyone says when I say that. And so I still have it to this day. It's wrapped up. Um, and it was on display until we moved into this house that we're in now. But I used to keep it on display, and people would be like, "What are you doing with that?" I'm like, "I'm waiting for the men's team to win." And the big joke is like, "Well, are you going to pass it on down to your kids?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll pass it on down." But I really think it's going to happen in my lifetime. I don't know why. I'm getting more confident as I'm watching these younger players
Yeah.
and watching them play these last couple times they've played. I'm getting more confident. Is it going to happen next World Cup?
No.
Can't say that, but could it happen like when these kids are starting to hit that peak of like late 20s, early 30s? It's very very
It's
possible.
definitely possible.
Um, so I may be popping that bottle earlier than what people are predicting.
I hope so. I really do hope so. Yeah. I mean, look, and like, I don't want to sound like a cynic because I'm very positive and I'm very excited. And I mean, I was very excited when Jill was winning. And so, like, especially since she's your bestie, I do want to clarify. I,
I
I,
don't.
I
It's
think,
one of those where I'm like, I don't know why you say that, but she
yeah, for
does.
sure. I think she's a very quality coach. I think that there may be better coach. Like, as far as, like, again, I don't think the same thing for the men as I do the women. I hold the
Yeah.
women at the very best coach in the world. And, like, just certain things I see, I'm like, I don't, they're, and I guess I look, and when I think of the women's side of the game, because I have a lot of friends that are Chelsea fans, I've got to
Hmm.
see Emma Hayes. So, like,
Yeah.
that's my bar. And, like, I hear Emma talk, like, when she's a pundit and things like that. And I hold everybody to that standard on that
Yeah.
side because to me, the U.S. women's national team is the best job in women's soccer,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Right. So like that's kind of what I'm saying. And again, I'm a I just talk and like you were saying like
Yeah.
I don't know like I tell everybody when we go on this like I talk all feelings, no facts, and
Yeah.
and like that's
Well, again too. So like that what you just said is kind of what we were saying a while ago. Like, imagine the way that you've seen Emma
yeah.
and the things she's done on TV and whatnot. Actually, I got to meet Emma
Oh, that'd be
at
amazing.
my very first coaches convention in 2008 in Baltimore,
Oh wow.
and and this is a crazy fact. So George Hayjay, that's at Midland FC or at Midland SC, his wife and he are quality friends with Emma, and every time Emma comes over for convention, they go out and have dinner because I think Tamara played with Emma at some point. So like that's
Might
kind
have
of
to give
that's their
Georgia a
connection.
text.
Yeah, there's a connection. I want
That's
to say
awesome.
Tamara played with Emma, but
That's
they
amazing.
know Emma pretty well.
That's really cool.
Um, and so like I remember like talking with Emma in 2008 and whatnot, and then like seeing her the next convention I went to and whatnot. And she's the Chelsea head coach, and she did a presentation this summer that I watched and got in on the chat with her and everything, and it kind of again it makes me think of like how you've seen her and how she's been presented,
Yeah.
and I guess it too how she's presented herself. I
Yeah,
guess
for
if you
sure.
want to go to that default, imagine if you would have seen a Jill Ellis, not specifically Jill, but if you had seen a Jill Ellis in that same perspective. So
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
let's say Jill becomes a pundit on TV and does the commentary for the games and whatnot, and all of a sudden you're like, holy cow, like she's pretty incredible,
Yeah, of
and it
course.
makes you go back, okay, now I get it. So I think again, like I said, like talking to Jill, my biggest claim to fame is making her do carpool karaoke for me. Um, you know, her like that clip, which people can see like on our soccer chat Facebook page, but like her doing carpool karaoke. And the first thing she asked me, she's like, well, can my daughter do it with me?
Yeah, for
And I
sure.
was like, yeah, absolutely. And she was like, all right, cool. And so like her and her daughter, I told all the people, I was like, just do like 30 seconds and then, send me the film. Jill did the entire Proud Mary song in her car
All right, I'm getting.
dancing.
All right, I'm a little more of a Jill Ellis fan right now.
Well, I think I'm going to be able to pull your string a little bit more. So her and her daughter are dancing and singing to Proud Mary in the car, choreographing dance moves and everything, and Jill's singing at the top of her lungs. And then at the Wisconsin Women in Soccer Symposium, that was last February. Um, a good friend of mine, Becky Burley at the University of Florida, who I think could be a national team coach. Becky's the only coach Florida's ever had. She won a national championship in year 4 of building that program. It helps having
Dang.
Danielle Feltopoulos, but also helps recruiting Abby Wambach away from North Carolina.
That helps.
But I think Becky, is another person that could do it, but I don't think Becky's looking for that. But Becky was doing a little talking session with Jill, and Jill was telling a story about she tries to be the cool mom, but yet being the cool mom kind of makes her embarrassing to her daughter.
Oh yeah.
And so she talks about, she kind of keeps a lot of stuff from home to herself, because she's like, soccer life is soccer life, home life is home life. I don't want the two to mix. And she said she constantly gets in trouble at home because, and this is Jill constantly gets in trouble at home because of how much she plays video games. And Jill, everybody, the look you're making right now is what the entire room was doing.
All right, fair
and
enough.
Jill said, I know what you're saying. She's like, but yes, I'm a hardcore gamer.
Love that.
And she said that she goes, for me, she's like, a lot of coaches say, oh, well, I read books, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I don't want to read a book about soccer because I'm working in soccer and I want to get away from it. She's like, I just want to shoot zombies. That's all I want to do. And she's like, so I sit there and I play in the living room, and I'm like, she's like, she's like, I literally will play every day. She's like, it's my like getaway for a time. She's like, and I'm so embarrassing because I'll be playing and Lily will come home and her friends will be with her, and she'll just pop in and see that I'm playing zombies and Call of Duty. And she'll just kind of like give me this look, and I'll be like, oh, okay. And she's like, I gotta like stop the game and go into a different room and play. And like so many people after that, like didn't even ask her anything about the World Cup. They were asking her about video games that she was playing. What system do you use? What's your gamer tag or your handle, whatever. And then she started talking about like how like, she needs that escape every now and then. And she found herself as she's gotten, I guess more high profile. She's like, I need that escape a lot more often because it allows me to kind of get settled back into home life.
Oh,
and
for sure.
So she's like, so for me, like shooting zombies and people in Call of Duty is my way of like breaking through. And then I can, I turn the game off and I can, when my family gets home and I get to spend time with them, and then I do soccer, and then it's like, time to kill some zombies. And I go back into video games. So like so many people were just so like amazed that Jill is the person who shows like minimal personality.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Is a massive game, and things she was saying that like she like screams and says she's like, the things that you probably think that I'm saying in a game, she's like, which I want to clarify, I'm actually saying those things you think I'm saying.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm just as bad or worse when I'm playing Call of Duty online.
Yeah. People can't hear what I say when I play video games. I saw like it was like a video or whatever, and it was like things that you say during video games that you can't say in real life. I was like, and I sent it to like all of my friends. They were like, yeah, that's you. And I was like, we say the wildest things. Yeah. And I think that's really important. Like, is like we were able to humanize these people. Like we put them on this pedestal and stuff. It's like, at the end of the day, Jill's just a regular person. Mm-hmm. She's just, and I know it sounds like I'm contradicting myself or I'm going off because I think she's cool.
No, I'm selling you on this.
Absolutely.
I'm selling you on this Jill Ellis idea.
But she is a top level coach, and I won't dispute that. I never would have. My feelings aside of where I think she belongs within the tier system or whatever, however you want to look at it. But like, at the end of the day, I can separate the fact that like, and like I think a lot of people need to figure out how to do that. Is like they're real people. They have like real lives and different things like that. They're just really good at what they do. And it kind of catapults them into this spotlight. So I think that's really cool.
I'm turning her baby face on you. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna get some more stories from her and send them your way. You're back. Okay.
Listen,
all right.
Listen, if you ever get me to talk to Jill Ellis, I'm going to become the biggest Jill Ellis fan you've ever seen in your life.
All right.
I promise you. You have
Challenge accepted.
you've never. I will show you a turn, a heel or a babyface turn. I don't care how you want to view it. I'm flipping.
For
Um,
sure, for sure.
Before we get out of here, like I said, and you said you like games, so I love trivia. That's something
Okay.
I like to do. My
I'm
friend,
only good. I'm only good with useless knowledge. My wife will tell you
that's me.
that I always say that she's pop culture illiterate. And I only know like the only things that are in my mind is useless knowledge. So
Hundred
like
percent.
I'll win. I always tell my wife like I will win us money one day because I know the other guy in Wham's name.
Yep. There you go.
Oh,
That's it.
trivia. I'm ready for this. I'm
Um,
gonna suck so much at this.
so it's all based around things that are around you though.
Oh
So
gosh.
so it should be a little easier. You were in it, like, and so I knew you were a Chelsea fan. I did know
Okay.
that. So there is a Chelsea question. No,
Ooh.
yep. I made it. That one's probably the easiest one though.
Okay.
Easiest question because I didn't know how far your Chelsea fandom went. So that was.
So you want to know where it started?
Let's hear
So Champions League final versus United. My friends call me over to their house. Yeah, I see it in the background. My
it.
friends, my friends call me over to their house to come watch the game, and I was like, all right. And I grew up like American soccer, like
Oh, I did not.
I will sing Alexi Lawless like that. Him and Marcelo Balboa in 1994 with long hair, earrings, and
Oh, they
beards.
looked
I was just
cool.
like, oh, dude. Like, and I told both of them that. Like, and Lawless was like, man, that he's like, that's so cool. Like, the rock and roll is like what got you into it.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
and so I remember going over like I knew who Beckham was. He wasn't playing for United at the time, but like I knew of the English game. I knew who John Terry was. I knew who Frank Lampard was. I knew Cristiano Ronaldo. I knew Wayne Rooney. You know, like I knew the players in the team. I just
Mainstream,
didn't.
right?
Yeah, but I didn't really watch Premier League. Plus, like I don't know if I had the ability to watch international soccer
It was
on
starting to
TV.
become more mainstream.
Yeah,
You know the league that actually was more accessible then was the Bundesliga
yeah, yeah,
because they had the Fox Sports Connect and then there was the Fox
yeah.
Soccer Plus or whatever.
And so I got over to my friend's house, and literally everybody there was wearing red. And I got there before the game, and he was like, "Oh, he's like, you're going for United, right?" And for whatever, I'm a person that like, if everybody's on the wagon, I'm not getting on it. And so, I remember being like, "Oh, like like I like John Terry," and I just remember being like, and a lot of the teams that I like are the color blue. And Brescia is actually the very first school I've ever coached at or team I've ever coached
Oh,
who's blue.
there
And
you
I'm
go.
so pumped about it. So I remember being like, well, I like all my teams are the color blue. I like John Terry. Um, and I remember like I would always like tell my friends like, oh, well, you only like United because they win all the time. And that's who at the time I was like, that's who Nike tells you to like. And so, which is another theory I have for another time. But like, I just remember like,
It
all right,
is
I'm gonna
true
go
for
with
most
Terry.
people though. It is true for most
Yeah,
people.
I mean, it's like Barcelona's growth is because Nike pushing the crap out of their uniforms and Adidas pushing Messi. Like you can see like in working youth camps, it changes every like 4 years. Like when I started coaching camps, you always saw Wayne Rooney and Cristiano Ronaldo United jerseys. That's all you saw. Then you start seeing these Barcelona jerseys of Messi start like trickling in.
Yep.
Within the United jerseys started leaving, and you just saw nothing but Barcelona jerseys. And then you would see, you start seeing like Eden Hazard jerseys from Chelsea start popping in, and then also you see all these Manchester City jerseys. And I always laughed at those kids. I don't care if they're 5 years old. I'd say, "Oh, it's cute. You've watched soccer for 1 year," um,
I'm,
and so
I'm on
I always
board.
I tell people all the time, if I work a camp and you're wearing a City jersey, there is no holding back. I'm going to lay into you.
We'll
So like I
roast you.
just worked at camp this weekend. There was like a 13-year-old that had on a Kevin De Bruyne jersey. I love Kevin De Bruyne. I think he's one of the best players in the world. I hate the fact that he plays for City.
Agreed.
And they were like, "Oh, you're a City fan?" He's like, "Yeah." And I walked up. I was like, "Oh, that's cute." He's like, "We mean it's cute." I was like, "You've only watched soccer for 6 years. That's so adorable. I'm glad you're a fan."
To be fair, he's 13, so that might actually be
Yeah,
true.
yeah, that's possible. It's very possible. I had a kid on my club team who actually plays for Brescia. He's a big City fan, and he at first hated it when I would say that about him, and then like, as he got older, he was like, "Coach, you're right. Like they were winning, so I picked them."
Oh, for sure.
Um, so for me, I just remember like Terry slipped, he missed the PK, and Elka missed the PK. Um, And I remember being like, I'm gonna ride or die with this group. Like,
That's
if I
awesome.
can say that I like this team after that loss in front of this entire house full of United fans, and I can ride with this team, like I think that's going to speak more volumes than anything else. So I literally the next day got online, ordered a John Terry jersey. I ordered a John Terry jersey every single year until he left the club.
That's
And
cool.
my friends hate me because I like Chelsea, but they love the fact that my first time watching a full Chelsea game, they lost in the biggest game in the world,
Yeah.
and I've still rode with them ever since. So I have to say that my fandom of Chelsea is like, I'll say it's minimal because that was really like the first game I,
Yeah,
I
that's fair.
watched. So if it's like, I'll know some older stuff.
No, it's
I'll
Premier League.
know,
It's Premier
but
League stuff. So you're good.
okay.
You're good.
All right. Whew,
No, and
okay.
I feel a similar way about United. I started watching them when they were winning, but they just won everything for so long. It's not. I can't really
Yeah.
help that.
That's like kids who grew up in the late '90s who became Yankees fans.
Yeah, that's it. It's the same.
Like I'm not a baseball guy, but I'm like, look, I'll tell people like I like the Cardinals and the Yankees. A, because the Cubs broke my heart when I was a really little kid and they traded my favorite player, and the Bears traded my favorite player like 2 weeks later. I was done with the city of Chicago except for the Bulls. But um, the Yankees, Don Mattingly, they're one of their best first basemen of all time, lives like 2 miles from me.
That's
Like he
cool.
lives in Evansville, Indiana, and I see him at the grocery store in the off season. Um, so like, most people are like, oh, anybody who's a Yankees fan is a bandwagoner because they win all the time. Well, in this case, I say yes, but like for me, it's like our hometown hero played for the Yankees.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
I think with soccer, the trend is always like I saw somebody the other day like how I mentioned like the city jerseys are what you see at
Mm-hmm.
camps now.
Nah, yeah, for sure.
Well, a year or two ago, you start seeing a sprinkle of Dortmund jerseys of Christian Pulisic. Well, now, and I've always said when Pulisic was leaving Dortmund, I was like, he's going to go to Chelsea or a Nike team, and whatever team he signs with is doing it just to sell jerseys in the States. And when he signed with Chelsea, I told my friends, I was like, when we go to camps and we have favorite jersey day,
Pulisic will be there.
we're going to see a crap ton of Christian Pulisic Chelsea
Yeah,
jerseys, and
it's true.
boy, have I been right.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's been crazy.
Oh no, I totally agree. Um, but if you think you're ready, 5 questions. That's it.
Ooh, okay.
So basically, we find out when it comes to trivia: are you tactical or are you foul? Yeah,
Okay.
right. Like
Yeah.
that's how we judge things. It's not very creative.
Yeah.
I use the name of the show. That
Okay.
right. But
That works.
let's start with this. It's not in order, but I'll start with this because we've been talking about Chelsea. How many Premier League titles has Chelsea won?
Oh my gosh.
This is
I
pretty
should have known you.
this is pretty
Yeah,
recent. So like
it is, but man, sometimes my CTE kicks in.
that's fair.
Um I'm trying to think of the ones that I've seen them win
Yep.
because they won. I want to say, I think they won two before I started liking them because I got into them during the Avram Grant year, which
Decent
was
year.
horrendous. So like I know they won two with Mourinho before that.
Yep.
Um, I feel like they won one with Ranieri before Mourinho. No, Mourinho won two with him. Then Ancelotti, so that would be three that I know of. Then they won with Mourinho again, and they is it four or five? I'm going to say no. They won with Antonio Conte. Five. I'm going to say five.
You are correct. That is the right answer. I
Let's
was like,
go.
I hope he doesn't forget about Conte. Yep. That's
No,
that.
and I'm a big Conte fan. I don't know how I was trying to like I said I was trying to go in chronological order of when I knew
You
like
got
I
it.
watched him. So
You got it.
and I have a other than the Mourinho year, the first two Mourinho champions wins. I have a jersey. Like I said, I got one from every year that they've won, so
Oh,
I
there you
should
go.
remember that.
Perfect. All right. We've talked a
I
lot.
just say I just saved my Chelsea fandom with that.
We did talk a lot about them, but there's been 8 players are tied for scoring the most goals in a U.S. women's national team game. How many did they score? So 8 players
eight players,
have done this.
eight players have done this.
Yep.
Oh man. Well, it's more than three.
Because yeah, that's true.
That's always a safe assumption. Oh gosh.
You're stuck between the same two numbers as you were on the last question, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah. Um
Or could it be more?
yeah, I'm trying to think of like the most goals I've seen in a game. I'm going to go Alex Morgan because there was the game that she scored 4 or 5 because the only reason why I know that for a fact because I want to say she scored 4 and maybe 5 because we watched that game with my daughter. My daughter was loving it. And my daughter had a game that afternoon, and my daughter scored 7 goals, and she did the counting celebration on every goal like Alex did in that game.
That's amazing.
So, oh gosh, I'm going to say Alex Morgan with, I want to say it was 5, but it may have been 4. Gosh, I don't, those numbers are too close. I'm going to say 4 in Alex Morgan.
You're so close. It was 5.
Gosh dang it.
And Alex Morgan did score. So did uh, Michelle Akers. Shocker there.
Yeah.
Brandy
Yeah.
Chastain. Crystal Dunn.
I just had a Zoom with Brady Chastain.
Yep.
And we talked about The Rock.
That's amazing. Sydney LaRue, who I love. I love
Oh
Sydney.
yeah. Sydney's legit.
Tiffany Milbrett, Amy Rodriguez, and Abby Wambach all scored 5 goals.
I was gonna say I could have swore it was 5.
Yep, it was 5. I got a theme here. I told you I'm not creative.
Because I know, like, I remember that game specifically when Alex was doing that. I remember them saying, like, she was tying the record. Yep. So I knew it was 4 or 5.
You're close. It's you're picking hairs there, right?
I get half a point for that.
There you go. No, we're cutthroat out here. No. All right. So U.S. men's national team now for this one. How many players in the top 10 of caps are still active today, and who are they?
Oh, man. Top 10 in caps and still active.
Yeah.
God, I barely can remember the last roster that they had out with all those young dudes. Is this like active in the national team or just active in professional soccer, period?
Professional soccer.
Professional soccer.
I guess technically in the national team because
some of them are still playing.
They could still definitely get called up, and I would hate it, but they might. I probably just gave you some hints there.
So I mean that's gonna say Bradley.
Okay. I will say this: don't overthink this. It's probably who you think it is.
Unfortunately, I'm going to say Josie Altidore.
You were correct.
Gosh dang it!
Those are the 2.
Those are the only 2.
Those are the only 2.
Okay.
Those are the 2 active. I think they come in at like 10 and 8 or something like that.
Okay. Cool.
Some along, maybe Bradley's higher, but
that's what I was trying to think of. Like the only older guys that's been playing with this young group recently, and I know Altidore did a game or 2 with them. And I feel like I've only seen Michael with this group.
It's been a little bit, hasn't
it? Yeah. It's been once. It's been a while since he's been with them.
For sure.
Wow, I'm doing a lot better than I was expecting.
Yeah. All right. So here we go. Last 2 questions. I think I'm gonna save the Brescia question for last.
Okay.
In 2018, who led the Alderson Broaddus? Right. Broaddus. I said that right this time. Men in goals.
2018.
So I think that was. Yep, 2018.
2018, so 2 years ago. Oh, man. These dudes are going to kill me.
I tried to make
2018.
Yeah, well, I guess it wouldn't have been your last year there, but I knew that you were on the roster because I had to make sure you were there for it.
2018. Who led in goals that year?
I can tell you they had 6 goals.
They had 6?
Yep.
That's not who I thought it was then. Oh. No. Was that his?
I believe 6 and 3, so 3 assists as well, I do believe.
Was it Ashley Sabisi?
It was not.
Okay. So that was his sophomore year because he was tied, I believe, his freshman year for goals was Siobhan John Brown, which was it was Siobhan's senior year, and Siobhan's currently playing for the Cosmos.
Nice.
Because we only had Ashley for 2 years, and then his home country made him come back home
Oh wow.
to be in the national service. Who was leading the team in goals after Ashley left? Gosh dang. Fernando was graduated by then. Was it Fernando Franco? Was it? I think he graduated already.
It was not.
Gosh dang. Um,
Their last name starts with an N. I can give you that.
with an N?
Yeah.
My gosh. I can't even tell you hardly half the people's last names.
That's fair. No.
That my last year there was really kind of gosh dang.
You
Who
want
was
you want to know who it
with an
is?
N? No, I'm gonna figure this out.
All right.
Even if I have to like look it up on my own. Starts with an N. Starts with an N.
Their first name starts with an
Oh,
E.
first name starts with an E.
Yeah.
Oh, then I really do need to. No. Oh, yeah. You said the last name starts with an M.
N.
N. Oh, then that's not who I think it is.
Unless I got my stats wrong, but I looked it up on their website. So
Is it Idris Miftari?
no.
Oh gosh.
Elliot.
I'm.
Elliot. Novato.
Oh yeah, Novato. Oh my God, Novato's gonna kill me.
All right. So I'm.
He's going to kill me for that.
Does
So
that make sense now?
yeah. So Novato, I think that was his freshman year.
No. I
Um,
didn't look that up. I'll be honest.
yeah, that's that. Oh man, I feel really bad.
It's
I do.
2018. That's 3 years ago now. You can't be held against you.
Yeah, I like so really for me like I really remember that the 2016, the year we won the conference championship. Like
Yeah.
I can remember everything about that year. I can remember everything about the next year because I thought we were going to go back to back and make the national tournament. Um, and those guys, that group from those 2 years, 2016 and 2017, are guys like I still talk to a lot
Right.
now. But man, Novato is going to kill me if he hears this.
Well, to be fair,
And probably even worse. And probably even worse, Edith Matari is going to be really upset with me because he's gonna be like, Coach, I wasn't even on the team that year.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that's crazy. Novato Elliott, and the crazy part is like I've still stayed in contact with like Coach Phipps there.
Yeah.
Like I haven't like in the last couple years, I haven't really talked to a lot of the guys that are still there, or have graduated. And I unfortunately I can't believe I forgot Novato's name. That sucks on my part.
Yeah, it happens. There's a lot of names, you know. All
For
right.
sure.
Last question. This is a Brescia question.
This is the one that's the most scary for me.
Yeah. Outside, and I had to make. I don't know if it's harder, but I had to make it like it couldn't be too easy, or else it was like, yeah, you're already there. So,
Yeah.
outside of Kentucky, what is the most represented state based on your Brescia roster?
On my roster,
Yep.
the most represented state
Outside of Kentucky.
outside of Kentucky. Well, the only we
There's some close ones too.
yeah.
I'm putting you through it right now, aren't I?
Yeah. So this was from my roster from this past fall.
Correct. I believe so.
Outside of Kentucky.
Hopefully.
So the thing is like I can really break it down. So everybody's from Kentucky except for I had one from Ohio, one from California, one from Mexico, one from Scotland. We had one from Tennessee, but she left right before the year started. Do I have two from Ohio?
I don't think so.
I know I don't have two from California and two from Mexico or two from Scotland. Oh my gosh. I had one from Indiana.
How many did you have from Indiana?
I just had one this year.
Again, I could be wrong.
Because Taylor Nycom was from Indiana, and we always joked like we were the Hoosiers on the team. Because everyone else is from Kentucky. So I had one from Indiana, one from Ohio, one from California, one from Mexico, one from Scotland. Because if it was Indiana, I would have known that we had more than one.
So okay, so maybe let me just double check it. So and to be fair, there's a chance that like these people didn't actually play on the team. Um, so it was based on what I see. It was Indiana that had Mallory Toller. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know.
Oh
Lindsey
yeah.
Butler
Oh my gosh.
and well, actually, you said she didn't play. So it says Taylor Newcomb was from Indiana.
Yeah, Taylor played. So,
Oh, okay. So
oh my
she
gosh,
was
this
the one
girl's
that
gonna
you
hate
did
me.
say. Yeah. So three.
So
You had three.
yeah, so Lindsay is. Oh my gosh, these girls are gonna hate me.
I'm
So
just making all
Lindsay,
your players and ex
I
players hate you,
know,
huh? That's a tough
just
one.
adding fuel to the fire.
Ah, sorry, man.
So here, I guess for me, so Lindsay is from just on the other side of Louisville, and in Indiana, the other side of Louisville is just considered Louisville, Kentucky.
All right, so that makes sense.
So in my and she played for Kentucky Fire,
Okay,
and so I always have in my mind that Lindsay's from Louisville.
that's funny.
Mallory, I can't believe I so she came onto our team right before I got there, and she played this year. She's from the track team, and she's literally from across the bridge and from Owensboro at South
Uh,
Spencer High from Rockport Rio area. I should and like I don't know why I didn't even think about Rio. That was just like the last thing I thought about like today was was anything to a point. And I now look like the worst coach of all time.
nah, I mean, look, it's like you said, like they're so close on the border. You just are like, just lump them in with
Yeah.
the Kentucky kids because they probably
Yeah, like I said, like basically in Indiana, if you are in the Jeffersonville, there's like three cities that are just right
yeah.
across from Louisville, because even those people will tell you that they're from Louisville. Like they don't say they're from Indiana; they will tell you like they're from
Well,
Louisville.
it's like being from like Royal Oak. You just say you're
Yeah,
from Detroit,
yeah,
right? Like you know what I mean?
man.
It's the same thing. Yeah. So
I hate myself right now so much.
nah,
Like
nah, nah.
so that and the worst part is like I feel worse about that one than I did about the Novato Elliott one.
Well, that one's yeah, because the other one's hard,
Yeah,
right? Like 6 goals, and actually, to be fair, I think there was like a few guys with like 5 goals and stuff like
yeah.
that. So it was always gonna be a tough one.
And the worst part is I was thinking too of like I was already thinking ahead of next year because I was like,
Yeah, right,
I
right.
know we'll have, because I was like, okay, we've got three incoming from Ohio, so that will put them at four next year.
Oh, so they would be the most.
And
Then.
so I was just like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. So yeah, man, people are gonna think I'm the worst coach ever, which is fine because I say that about myself.
Yeah, fair enough. No, I think it's pretty reasonable to think that on with 20 girls or whatever, more than that, you don't remember exactly where everybody's from.
Yeah.
So I don't think you didn't do too bad. I think So you got to be fair, the ones that you were like oh no, right? Like the Chelsea
Mm-hmm.
one, where you're like I probably won't know, and then you got the U.S. men's national team one as well. So
Yeah.
um,
And I got 1/8 of the women's national
you
team
did.
one.
You did. So you'll have to, of course, come on, and I'll have more questions, and you'll have to
Dude, yeah. I want to do another episode with you where you just give me
just a
trivia the whole
trivia.
time.
I'm
Yeah.
totally down for a trivia night, and
I will totally do that.
I think
Because I now I've got to redeem myself.
oh, absolutely. So I'm all game for that. Again, I know I said I don't want to waste any more of your time, and that was like an hour ago. But here we are, and this is how this goes, and we like talking, and it's we love the game that we're lucky enough to be involved in, and so
Oh, for sure.
that comes through, and so these conversations are, I think they're valuable.
Oh, absolutely.
and they're just a lot of fun. So, Shaun, I really do appreciate you coming on.
No problem, man.
I can't wait to talk to you again. Is there any last words or anything? Obviously, you got the soccer chat. We've talked about that. Any last things you want to say or plug or anything like that?
Yeah, just check out Soccer Chat. It's on Twitter every single Wednesday night at just using the hashtag Soccer Chat, or you can follow us at Chat Soccer with no E, so it's SOCCR. And it drives me crazy because there are like 4 people who have at Soccer Chat and they've not used them since like
Come on,
2014.
Twitter. Come
It
on.
drives me crazy. And I'm a big brand guy. Like everything's got to be the
Yeah,
same.
I'm with you.
So unfortunately, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook is all Chat Soccer SOCCR. Um, It
That's
just
amazing.
and I didn't even come up with that. The company who helped me start Soccer Chat, they did that, and I
Yeah.
was like, that's kind of dumb,
I
but
hate that
okay,
actually,
whatever.
but it is what it is.
Um, so yeah, so follow us on those platforms. Our show comes out every Thursday. You can get it anywhere: iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher Radio, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcast from. You can get it on those spots. I'm on Twitter at Coach Soderling. Brescia Women's Soccer, we're on everything at Brescia W Sock. I like to think that we're doing a pretty good job of promoting our program since I've taken over. I mean, if you go to, I started March 3rd last year, and if you check out the day before and go back in the social media, you can see a complete difference in what we're doing now.
It's awesome.
I think it's pretty cool that a little NAI school in Owensboro, Kentucky, that we've got some pretty prominent Power Five schools reach out and asking us what we're doing social media wise and how they can do the same thing. So definitely check it out, Brescia W Sock. Um, yeah, I that's I thank you for having me on, man. It's always so weird. Like I was telling my wife tonight, I was folding laundry during the last part of the women's game, and she asked me about something, and I was like, "Well, I got a podcast interview at 8:30," and she's just always so used to it being soccer chat that I was doing.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, like who are you interviewing?" I was like, "Well, actually, like, I'm getting interviewed." And she's just like, "Ooh, aren't you fancy now?" And I'm like, "Eh, I guess so." And so like I like it's kind of cool to get on the other side.
Yeah. Oh,
It's awkward for me because I'm so used to being like in your shoes doing
yep.
everything. So it's awkward. I feel awkward when I do on this side, but I just want to thank you for having me on, man. And I have to, you know, if any of your listeners have made it this far, I want to apologize to them
Nah,
for
never.
my whatever you want to call it. But I definitely got to give a apologies to Novato, apologies to Mallory, apologies to Lindsay. I am so sorry, you all. I Lindsay and Mallory, you probably hated me before. You're really going to hate me now. Um,
Nah.
but just know that I will go a little bit easy on you on the fitness test because of this.
You get one
But no,
extra
man,
point.
you get one extra point. Yep. But well, Mallory was the fastest growing all conference, so she's not going to need an
Yeah,
extra
she's gonna
point.
be fine.
But you know, thanks for having me on, man. Like, I just, like I said, I love seeing the game grow.
Yeah.
And more than just the game, like I love seeing these communication platforms for soccer and for coaching in general to grow. And you know, I always get kind of inspired by my wife, who when I first met her, you know, she always said she didn't get into teaching to teach kids; she got into teaching to teach teachers, and that's why she wanted to become an administrator and stuff like that. And that always made me think as time went on. And she kind of gave me the hint that, you know, I got to a point in my career where I was like trending upward, and now I'm kind of at that point where it's about helping others
Yeah.
and giving them you know, the knowledge or lack of knowledge that I've got. And so like I've always been in the last like 3 years, it's all been really kind of why I started Soccer Chat was like I'm like whatever I can do to help other coaches. But I'm not teaching courses or licensing courses, anything like that, but I do think I can help others and bridge these connections and create these networks for coaches that will that can help them out. And it's just it's so cool to be a part of this empowering coaching movement, like with what you're doing, with what we're doing at Soccer Chat, with what others are doing with their various media vehicles. And it's things like with what you're doing, it's bringing perspectives and things about coaching more than just technical videos
Yeah.
and and talk like that. It's these conversations that we're having, that where people are picking a lot of stuff up at. And thank you so much for having me on. And like I said, I apologize to your listeners for boring them this whole time.
Nah, never,
But
never.
they should just be happy we didn't talk about pro wrestling, because that would have been another 4 hours.
No,
So
that's the next time
um,
because I got lots to talk about pro wrestling. So,
trivia and pro wrestling,
yep.
and we'll do that on the next one. And I will tell you on the next one about a direct connect between pro wrestling and soccer.
Well, I might have some for you as well. Like I said,
That's
useless
a
knowledge.
teaser.
Useless
Yes,
knowledge.
sir.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
for sure.
sir.
We got plenty. We have some useless, some useful.
Hmm.
And we had a lot on this episode. I think a lot more useful than anything. Next episode can't guarantee the same, but it'll be fun. It'll be a great conversation just like this. But thank you again. Again, thank you everyone that's listening. This has been Tactical Foul. I'm Kyle Grew, Shaun Soderling. Thanks until next time, guys. Peace.